There's something dangerous about the traps that don't make any noise. The ones that don't shout, don't hurt, don't even feel like traps at all. They just sit quietly in the corners of your mind, waiting. You don't see them when life is loud, when everything is moving. But in the quiet moments, when your guard drops, that's when they start whispering, not with words, but with feelings that seem to come from nowhere. Most people spend their entire lives walking around with invisible chains. They think they're free, making their own choices, shaping their future. But in truth, their decisions are being guided by something much quieter and far more dangerous than fear or anger. Silent mental traps. Those soft, hidden loops of thought that keep pulling you back to the same patterns, the same emotions, the same invisible cages. It doesn't feel like a trap when it's familiar. That's the trick. Your brain doesn't ring alarms for what it recognizes. It saves the alarms for the unknown, so you never question the habits that slowly eat away at your clarity. You never look twice at the small lies you tell yourself to stay comfortable. The real danger is never the loud storm. It's the calm routine that turns into a prison without you noticing. Think about it. How many times have you convinced yourself that the way things are is the way they must be? How many times have you mistaken comfort for safety? There's a part of the mind that loves the familiar, not because it's good, but because it's predictable. And predictability, to your brain, feels like survival. So even if something is slowly breaking you, your mind might still choose it over uncertainty. That's how silent traps work. They make the cage feel like home. They make pain feel like normal. They disguise themselves as rational thoughts, responsible decisions, even wisdom. You don't fight them because you don't even know they're there. One of the cruelest tricks of the human mind is that it confuses what is familiar with what is right. If you grew up with chaos, chaos feels like home. If you lived with doubt, doubt feels safe. If your identity was built on struggle, then ease feels suspicious. These are not conscious choices. These are invisible threads woven into your behavior. And slowly, without realizing it, you start walking in circles. The most dangerous trap is not the one that shocks you. It's the one that repeats itself so softly, so quietly, that you stop noticing it. It becomes a part of who you think you are. The same excuses, the same fears, the same hesitation right before you step into something new. Your brain tells you, this is just the way I am, but that's not who you are. That's the trap speaking. Silent mental traps are masters of disguise. Some hide in the form of self-doubt, the quiet voice that tells you you're not ready, that you're not enough, that this is not your time. Others hide in the stories you repeat about yourself, the ones you started believing long ago and never questioned. I've always been like this. That's just how life is. People like me don't get that these aren't truths, they're echoes. Then there are the traps that wear the mask of logic. They sound smart, they sound practical. They convince you that risk is foolish, that dreaming is naive, that you should be realistic. But realism, when poisoned by fear, becomes a cage. Not because the danger is real, but because the story feels convincing. This is how people stay stuck. Not because they don't want to change, but because they never hear the trap closing in. Because the chains are made of thoughts that sound like their own. Because the prison is disguised as safety. There's a quiet point in every life when something inside starts to whisper, is this it? It's not a shout. It's not a crisis. It's just a soft ache. A small crack in the wall. But if you ignore it long enough, the trap seals itself again, stronger than before. And with each repetition, it gets harder to tell the difference between your true self and the walls built around it. The mind is brilliant. It can build dreams, solve mysteries, create beauty. But it can also build traps, so elegant you don't even notice the door has closed. And the worst part, you decorate the prison yourself. You make it look like home. That's why ignoring these silent traps is so dangerous. They don't need to fight you. They just need you to keep living without asking questions. Because the moment you start to question them, really question them, their structure begins to crack. They depend on silence. They depend on repetition. If fear is a loud storm, silent traps are the fog. You don't run from fog. You walk through it without realizing it's getting thicker. And one day you can't see where you're going anymore. That's when people confuse numbness with peace, confuse routine with stability, confuse stillness with control. But silence is not always safety. Sometimes it's a cage. Every trap begins with a single unchallenged thought, a belief you accepted because it was easier than facing uncertainty. I can't, it's too late, it's just who I am. And the longer you hold it, the deeper it roots itself into your identity. Before long, it's not just a thought, it's the lens through which you see the world. This is why escape doesn't start with a dramatic act. It starts with a quiet realization. The moment you look at one of those thoughts and whisper, what if this isn't true? That's where the walls start to crack. That's when the fog starts to thin. But most people don't reach that point because they're waiting for something loud, a big sign, a clear warning. But the traps you should fear the most are the ones that give you none.